There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I am here with a massive Unhaul. I don't watch other people's Unhaul videos, but people seem to watch mine and enjoy them because I, usually have bitchy reasons for getting rid of a bunch of books. So you will have seen most of these or all of these on my channel over the last year, but I'm taking them to the used bookstore tomorrow or the next day. First up is this piece of crap, Bottled Goods by Sophie Van Leeuwen. It was nominated for some silly book award, and I mistakenly bought it. It was awful. It is set in Romania, had a lot of potential, but it did not realize that potential at all. Similarly, and quite recently, I read and did not very much enjoy Embers by Sandor Murai, translated from the Hungarian by Carol Brown Janeway. This was dry. I bailed on page 1 of this Welsh novel by Richard Williams, Mostyn Thomas and the Big Grave, and it's unfortunate because it had an intriguing premise. A Welsh farmer, I think he's not a young man, I don't know how old he was, but he is a poor farmer and he decides to supplement his income by hosting raves in the barn or in the Quonset on his farm. But the writing was so awful on page 1 I didn't make it to page 2. William Golding's The Spire. Poor Curtis of Curtis Books and Books. He heartily recommended this to a bunch of us, and that bunch, we all got it and did a buddy read, and every single one of us bailed. It was just terrible. There must be other people besides Curtis that liked it. It is about a dean of a cathedral in the 14th century or something, and a new spire is being built, and he's managing it, and it was exactly as interesting as that sounds. This was a novel that I loved at the end of last year, but I didn't like this edition of Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. It had typing and grammatical mistakes in the text, so I abandoned it early and just read it as an ebook. So, bye-bye! I was quite disappointed that this was an early bail because I'd been looking forward to reading it for about 4 years, and I hated the writing. It's an Israeli novel about a hit-and-run accident. An Israeli surgeon driving home from a 75-hour shift or something hits and kills an African migrant worker, and that migrant worker's young widow stalks him seeking revenge. But yeah, no, the writing was awful. This was like book number 2 or book number 3 on the book prize, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it well enough to keep it. Aminata Forna's Happiness. It was a 3-star read from me, but really boring, mind-numbingly boring, so it didn't give me much happiness. Downright disgusting was this India novel. This is the first novel from India that I have hated. Narcopolis by Jeet Tile. There's a back-and-forth vlog between Natalie of my reading days and myself. I will link it below. This novella from Australia started out with so much energy and verve, and I was deeply engrossed in it, and then it just went to shit. Hang Him When He's Not There by Nicholas John Turner. Huge disappointment last autumn. As was this by Michelle Roberts, Daughters of the House. It was just abysmal. I don't remember anything about it except that it, sucked. Speaking of sucks, this was the most overly sentimental piece of trash published last year. Anne Griffin's When All Is Said. 5 toasts, 5 people. An old man, I think he's dying or he's going to kill himself or something. He goes to the bar where he's been drinking all his life, and he's remembering 5 people and having 5 toasts to them about all the love in his life and how much he loved those people. This was just a meh read for me. Foreign Soil by Maxine Beneba Clark, a African-Australian writer. Didn't like the stories very much. This one failed the page 112 so badly that it was all I could do not to throw it in the trash. Akmat Dangor's Bitter Fruit, a South African novel I kept on my shelf for years because I'm so interested in South African lit, but this one was terrible. Or maybe it was the try a chapter tag, but anyway, blah. Deborah Levy's an amazing writer, but she wasn't back when she wrote these novellas, Beautiful Mutants and Swallowing Geography. Oh my god. Natalie almost divorced me when she found out that I bailed on her favorite book of all time, Flames by Robbie Arnott. Just not a Sean book. I think it's a very good book, but it's too magically realistic, way too much magical realism for my tastes, so I'm going to pass it along, and hopefully somebody that loves that sort of thing will find it. Nice cover, though. This one also failed the try a chapter tag or the page 112 test. Irene Nemirovsky's David Golder. Yeah, really bad, really boring. And I was really disappointed that this Anna Spargo Ryan's second novel, The Gulf, was so bad. I started it, bailed early. It was the teenage girl protagonist's voice just irritated the crap out of me. Her first novel, Paper House, was a really enjoyable read, and I had been so looking forward to trying this one, and I didn't like it at all. This was a terrible historical novel published early this year, The Familiars by Stacey Halls. It was just a historical novel, really. It read like, contemporary Harlequin romance with the occasional Wikipedia-derived historical reference. It had no atmosphere whatsoever. Blech. I'm kind of sorry to get rid of this one because it is the worst work of translated fiction published in 2018. The Court Dancer by Kyung Suk Shin, and has some of the worst sex writing in all of recorded history. So I kind of like using it for tags, but I think it's time to go. Guapa by Salim Haddad. A gay Iraqi novel, and just way too sentimental for my tastes. If you like sappy gay love stories. And this was probably the biggest shock, unless you remembered how much I hated Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. It's just one of the worst novels I read last year. Sorry, may she rest in peace. I think this is a Palestinian Jewish love story. Ishmael's Oranges by Claire Hajjaj. And I did either a page 112 or a try chapter, and it was so disgusting that it's out of here. Another disappointment, I tried a buddy read of this, On Jackie's Transparent City, a novel from Angola, and I'd been so looking forward to it, and it had some potential, but I couldn't finish it. Just couldn't. I saw enough talent there that I would try not his next novel, but the one after that, but this was not good. I have used this Egyptian novel by Naguib Mahfouz, Midak Ali, in so many page 112s and dry chapters, and it's just not for me, so time to go. Oh my god, this was terrible! Daisy Johnson's Everything Under. For Victober this year, I buddy read this novel from about 1899, A Writer of Books by George Paston, the pseudonym for Emily Morse Simons, and it wasn't written by a good writer of books. And this is my first and probably last Natalia Ginzburg book, Family Lexicon. A thinly fictionalized autobiography of her family. And they were all eccentric, and she loved telling us about all their eccentric expressions and habits. That is not a good book. After about page 5, who cares? This Persephone book was so bad I can't keep it in my house. Vain Shadows by Jane Hervey. My buddy reader, Leah from Calgary, she quite liked it, but I thought it sucked. Big time! And this was a buddy read with Ollie Bliss about a year ago. Written by a gay Moroccan-French novelist. His name is Abdellah Taya, and this is his most well-known novel, Salvation Army. I didn't think it was any good. Nice cover, nice thick paper. The compliments stop there, so bye-bye. Stay tuned for my next book haul to see what comes in for all those ones going out. Thanks for watching.